Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing down a massive illusion. For decades, traditional economics has fed us a complete lie. They've been telling us that African agriculture is hopelessly broken, just a total disaster, utterly inefficient. They crunch the numbers from their offices and conclude it's a massive failure of resource management. But what if that entire narrative is just dead wrong? What if the experts completely miss the most crucial detail of the whole picture?
So we have to ask, is African agriculture truly a disaster? Or are the experts in their ivory towers just measuring the completely wrong things? Well, today we're revealing a shocking reality. It's not the farmers who are failing, it's the math. We're going to look at how a colossal miscalculation painted millions of hardworking people as entirely incompetent, and how some brilliant new research is finally setting the record straight.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the exact premise we are going to debunk today. The original paper states, standard measures of productivity display enormous dispersion across farms in Africa, seemingly in conflict with a model of efficient allocation. Let me translate that. Economists look at farms in places like Tanzania and Uganda, and they just see a huge mess. One farm produces a mountain of food, while the neighbor produces almost nothing. To an office-bound academic, this looks like pure chaos. They assume the land is simply in the wrong hands, and that if they could just reshuffle who owns what, everything would be perfectly fixed.
Well, get ready for a massive reality check. 90%, a staggering 90% of this supposed chaos is completely fake. No joke, it simply doesn't exist. It's a ghost in the machine. Almost the entire problem these academics have spent decades trying to solve, it's literally nothing more than a statistical illusion.
Which brings us to part one of our breakdown, the efficiency illusion.
This is the ultimate slap in the face. The old myth was that huge data gaps meant farmers were wasting resources, so academics thought shuffling land around would magically fix everything. The new truth? It was pure measurement errors and unseen physical differences. The environment was completely misunderstood. Honestly, the economists were totally blind to reality, building entire theories on numbers that were fundamentally broken from the absolute start.
Now, what's really interesting about this raw data for maize yields in Tanzania is the sheer scale of the chaos. Look at how wildly scattered the numbers are. The average farm makes $814 per hectare, but the gap between the best and the worst? A massive $3,985. On paper, it looks like a completely broken system. An economist sees this massive spread and thinks, wow, these farmers have no idea what they're doing. A few are geniuses and the rest are just wasting perfectly good land. They saw this variance and immediately assumed total incompetence.
But here's the secret. The raw data is lying to us. That extreme variance, it isn't bad farming at all. It's bad data. It's a fundamental failure to measure reality. The spreadsheets completely missed what was actually happening down in the dirt.
Let's move on to part two, finding data flaws, and exactly how the researchers caught these errors.
So how did they catch the lie? Well, they built a completely new, flexible framework. Let's walk through the process. Step 1, stop guessing. Traditional economists took single snapshots of farms and made massive assumptions. But this new team actually tracked real data from farming households in Tanzania and Uganda, following the exact same families across multiple growing seasons. Step 2, isolate the noise. Think about it. If an amazing farmer gets hit by a flood, their yield obviously drops. The old data just called that inefficiency. The new data caught the nuance. By comparing a farmer's yield on the exact same plot across different years, they separated bad luck from bad farming. And finally, step 3. They stripped away the pure measurement errors and calculated actual, real-world productivity. They put boots on the ground, observed the physical conditions, and tracked real human behavior. Better math absolutely destroys all the assumptions. When you finally track actual households across different seasons, the fog lifts and a clear picture emerges. Those massive, chaotic gaps shrink rapidly. The so-called inefficiency begins to completely vanish. The farmers were doing fine all along. The old formulas were just fundamentally broken.
This takes us right into part 3, the invisible soil gaps. And this brilliantly illustrates the hidden truth that standard models completely ignored. These are the invisible factors that actually dictate crop yields. Is the soil clay or sand? How far is the farm from the local market? Has the topsoil eroded away over the last decade? Were there unexpected droughts or sudden floods? Farmers aren't just randomly failing. They're fighting an invisible, brutal war against their local geography. An economist in a high-rise office can't see a sudden swarm of pests. They can't factor in a washed-out dirt road that prevents fertilizer deliveries. But the farmer? They live it every single day. The data was completely missing the context.
It's a stark contrast. The economist's view assumes all land is perfectly equal, just a uniform, blank canvas on a spreadsheet. But the farmer's reality? It's muddy, it's unpredictable, it's harsh. A sandy plot during a drought absolutely cannot be compared to a perfectly irrigated plot of clay. The models were totally blind to the dirt, so they ended up punishing farmers for the weather.
Let's pivot to part 4, 90% dispersion debunked.
So the crucial point is right here. This is the ultimate takedown. 90% of that massive gap in farm productivity comes down to measurement error and hidden physical differences, things the economists just couldn't see or measure right. Only 10% is actual real-world misallocation. Reassigning plots of land would not magically fix African agriculture. The math definitively proves the experts wrong. The massive inefficiency crisis was a total fabrication born from bad observation.
I want to read the author's direct conclusion here. The potential for efficiency gains through reallocation of land across farms and farmers may be relatively modest. You know what that is? That's polite, cautious academic speak for "we were entirely wrong." The miracle cure of forcefully redistributing land was based on a total myth. Taking land from one farmer and giving it to another wouldn't actually solve a single real-world problem. Land redistribution is not a magic pill. Shifting land around will never fix a problem caused by bad weather. It won't fix problems caused by invisible soil erosion. And it certainly won't fix problems caused by bad data. You simply cannot spreadsheet your way out of a drought.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Farmers Smarter Than Data.
The takeaways here are phenomenal. Farmers perfectly adapt to hidden local soil types. They dynamically adjust to unseen weather shocks. The so-called inefficiency was just an illusion created by bad modeling. These local farmers are highly rational actors, successfully navigating incredibly complex microenvironments. Now, to be fair, even this new study has a few blind spots. While it proves measurement error is the main culprit, it relies heavily on just 2 countries, Uganda and Tanzania. Can we apply this perfectly to the entire African continent? Maybe not. Every region has unique hurdles, but it undeniably proves that broad, sweeping assumptions are dangerous. True policy change demands hyper-local data. We absolutely have to stop treating a massive continent like a single data point. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the farmers were right all along, and the academic models were this incredibly wrong, what other grand economic truths are just illusions built on bad data? Think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.